going hot here.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go together.
You can't like rush ship it or something.
Rick, we didn't think you
Yeah.
Who's this?
All right. The Tuesday, August 20th, 2024 meeting of the Eden Prairie City Council is now called to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It is customary at the start of meetings that I read an open podium invitation. Open podium is an opportunity for Eden Prairie residents to address the City Council on issues related to Eden Prairie City government prior to each council meeting. These council meetings are typically held the first and third Tuesday of each month, though not during the summer months. The open podium part of the meeting occurs from 6:30 to 6:55 p.m. here in the council chamber. If you wish to speak at open podium, please do contact the city manager's office at 952-949-8412 by noon of the meeting date with your name, your phone number, and the subject matter so we can be better prepared for you. Open podium is not recorded or televised. If you have questions about open podium, please do contact the city manager's office. All right, we have no proclamations or presentations this evening. We do have an agenda as always. Are there any additional items for the agenda that any council member wishes to add or city manager?
Mayor,
The one that I'm going?
so you cover that, right? The infrastructure, road construction, and the
Right.
the events that have happened recently.
So
You got that covered, good.
Yep, so that will be under Report of Public Works Director. Is that accurate?
Sure, yes.
Is that fine? Yeah, just a question about with all the road construction going on right now, just an informational, real quick report out from Mr. Ellis about what's happening, why it's happening, what's next, when it's all done, just generically that way. I'd like to add one brief report of council member from an educational standpoint about solar panels and neighbors, not looking for any staff action at all. In fact, it sounds like it's already been handled, but it's more just the idea of this type of issue that might be arising with new technologies out in the world today. So any additional agenda items besides those two additions? If not, could I entertain a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Moving on to, nothing? Is that
No.
clear your throat? Okay. Not like, not like that.
Sorry.
Got it. No problem. Just do let me know. Send a note down or.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. Hit Mr. Narayan and let him hit me. Yeah, okay, you got it. All right. So we do have the city council minutes to approve from July 16th. Any items on it that you wish to correct, edit, add, delete? If not, is there a motion to approve both the workshop and the city council meeting held back on July 16th?
Move to approve the following city council minutes. Council workshop held Tuesday, July 16, 2024. City council meeting held Tuesday, July 16, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any additional further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. All right, moving on to the consent calendar, which are the items of fairly perfunctory nature that we clump together into one motion of consent. But council members, any items you wish to question or pull for additional discussion? If not, is there a motion for approval of the consent calendar items A through L?
I'll move for approval of items A through L on the consent calendar.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed. All right, no public hearings or additional meetings. Payment of claims. Again, these are classically, in the old days, the checks that we cut. Today it's all electronic, but any items, again, or expenditures that you wish to learn more about? If not, is there a motion to approve the payment of claims?
Move to approve the payment of claims as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Freiberg,
Aye.
Councilmember Narayan,
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson,
Aye.
Councilmember Toomey,
Aye.
Mayor Case.
Aye. All right, moving on to reports of council members. Mr. Getchell, even though it's reports of council members, do you want to say anything regarding this specific award? And then I'll talk maybe about, we'll pass, actually no formal action night. We'll do something else when Senator Swazensky is available to actually come into the meeting. But do you want to add anything here?
Mayor, what I'll just mention is maybe a little bit about the organization that awarded Senator Swedzinski. I'll let you talk about him and what we're going to do later on. But the League of Minnesota Cities, of which pretty much all 800 and some cities in the state of Minnesota are members of, it's an association that provides training and development and also support for cities at the capital, at the state and federal level, any issues related to city government, in addition to many other services, including actually an insurance trust that we're in. So we get our insurance through the League of Minnesota Cities. So what they do is each year they award legislators throughout the entire state of Minnesota, very few. They honor them as distinctive legislators who assisted cities statewide with their assistance at the Capitol. And Senator Swedzinski was just one, I believe, of just 9 senators in the entire state of Minnesota that the league recognized, and they asked the mayor to publicly mention that and talk about that, and hopefully, and the mayor can state this too, have the senator in attendance, and that'll be at a future meeting because he's out of the state right now. So yeah, we're very fortunate to have a senator representing all of Eden Prairie that is distinguished and honored by the League of Minnesota Cities.
Great, thank you. And I would like to bring him back in. He's also been the recipient of, I can think of at least one, if not more, awards within the last year that we can acknowledge and recognize him. It's nice because we are nonpartisan. Our state legislators do run partisan, but all senators are not up for re-election this year. So it's just a nice year in a nonpartisan environment to bring in our legislator and acknowledge as a city council all the good work. This is one recognition from the League of Minnesota Cities, but all the good work that he does for us day in and day out, and that we have such a great relationship with him. That's not for me right now, right? That's another note from something else. All right. So we don't need an action on this tonight, but we'll work on a date that he can actually come in. Maybe I'll work up a proclamation declaring it Senator Steve Swazensky Day or something, and have his family come in. We just would like to really recognize and honor him. I have chatted with him, and of course, the award is not a surprise, but the idea that we'll bring him in will not be a surprise either. All right, the second item that I would like to just ever so briefly talk about, and I really want to raise this in the vein of thought that it's an example of how residents can reach out to us anytime they have issues, concerns, and we can help them. Mr. Getchell, triage is for me all the time. I'll send an email and say, can you get this to the right staff person? The other reason this incident that I'll talk about this evening in a moment, I think significant, is that technologies are changing constantly. And with the changing technologies within solar panels on rooftops, it may inadvertently be bringing up potential conflict pain points between neighbors. So I had a neighbor in northern Eden Prairie reach out to say that the neighbor in some of the homes up in the north part of Prairie View, if you know the area, there's a couple neighborhoods that are literally terraced, I guess is a good way of saying it. There's a road that's low and another road that's high, so that these houses look out on the rooftops of those houses. And I think there's a third street that's higher, and they look out on the rooftops of those houses. So what's happened is neighbors down low have put solar panels facing the houses up above at the next level, And you can imagine that the sun changes its vector, its angle all the time, and of course during the day. And so it's only for a couple hours a day for about 2 months a year where it's literally like the sun is shining completely into all the windows of this house. It's like this huge
Like acting
spotlight.
like a mirror?
Yes, it is, exactly, like a mirror. And when I first heard about it, I'm thinking, well, okay, that's not good. I mean, it's literally wrecking the quality of life, I think, for several of the homes on the upper terrace. But we, sitting up here tonight, are total proponents of more solar on people's homes. So we have to be careful. This is not about in any way trying to come up with some way to limit people's ability to get solar. And I don't think, I'd have to think of my geometry and all the angle background, but I don't think two homes sitting at the same level, depending on roof slants or something, could ever have this issue. And in this case, the home that is having the solar panels shine into their neighbor's house has solar panels on 4 sides of their house. So we're only talking about the eastern exposure, and there's only 6 panels. So anyway, this neighbor called me, and I triaged it right away to Mr. Getchell. And it sounds like she wanted some kind of an ordinance to prevent this. It sounds like we have current ordinances in place right now that, in theory, prevent one neighbor from negatively impacting the quality of life of another neighbor. I mean, we have ordinances in place, I think, to begin to deal with this. Plus, there's technologically, I'm not an expert in any way here, I believe the potential capability of filters on the tops, then it may cut some of the electrical power part of it, but it's nonetheless might make these, at least the 6 facing east, and they could still have their other 3. So point being, this was a great example of a neighbor that reached out to one of us and said, can you help me? And we are. And secondly, of the changing technologies that may be creating new pain points that we as a council may or may not, as we develop ordinances in the future, want to address. If you think about it, I think this is pretty fair to say, you can nod if you agree, but I think about every ordinance we have that deals with helping neighbors get along and limiting maybe the freedom of one neighbor in order to impact positively the freedom of those around. I think every one of those ordinances probably came out of solving problems. You know, people bring issues or problems and we come up with a solution, and then we create an ordinance. So I just liked this as an example of that in our changing technology environment. But I also wanted to make the case or point that we do not want to limit in any way the expansion of solar across our city. We just want to make sure we do it right. Okay. Mr. Getchell, you've heard the whole thing and you've been reacting. Anything else you want to add at all?
Mary, you said it perfectly. Specifically, we have a section in our city code that deals with glare, specifically with glare.
Okay.
So we can
Perfect.
follow up, and you're right. We want to support more solar. I mean, we've had multiple seminars where the city is bringing in people that put solar arrays on residential property, and we're promoting it. So, but also, you're right, Mary, you want to balance the negative impacts. So we do have a code section. We're following up on this case with the glare issue.
And if indeed it works out that we don't have an ordinance strong enough to directly face it, evidently some of our neighboring cities do have more specificity along their solar panel, and we'll look at those too. But we just believe right now that our city ordinances are strong enough to address this. All right. Report of Public Works Director. So, Robert, before you start, thank you so much. You are so good. Well, all of our staff, but you are so good at this. And I just want to maybe say out. Sorry, I'm going to steal just one more moment here. We in this past week had the opportunity as a council to take the council on the road. On Thursday, right? We went to 2 senior residences. It's great when you go to a residence building where seniors live, because they all come out to your meeting, which is actually really fun to see. And we've done this now, I don't know, is that our 3rd year? I'm not sure, but we generally go to 2 or 3 different buildings each year. And we went to Elam Shores, and then we went to Valley The other one's Summer Hill.
Valley View Cooperative
Valley View
and Summer
Cooperative.
Hill, they're
Yep,
both next
yep.
to each other. Yeah.
And had a wonderful time. But at any rate, we did Q&As and questions would come up. We had all our senior staff there, and they did just phenomenally well. I'm just so proud of them anytime we bring them on the road as well. But Robert got a lot of questions, as other staff did too, and he handled it so well. So one of the, partly because of those questions, we've been getting, not very much, honestly, but just a few comments here and there, with the Prairie Center Drive being closed one direction, and then sometimes I was driving one day and it was like, no, I should have known, but I did not, and suddenly your brain's going, what's another route for me to go? And then of course I plan ahead the next time, right? But anyway, it made me think that in years past, haven't we sometimes closed one side, but then kept the other side one lane going both ways? But this is, and by the way, we're not the only ones that close the whole road down for a short amount of time. That's happening in Bloomington right now. Where was I? It was just in Edina it's happening. So cities are doing this, kind of a new way of thinking about. That's what I talked to Rick about, and I said, could we have Robert report out where are things at in Eden Prairie? Why are we doing it this way? How long will it be? When will we all be done? What's next, et cetera? Take it away.
Yeah, you bet. So thank you, Mayor Kay, City Council. So talking specifically about that Prairie Center Drive project, and there's really two Prairie Center Drive projects, but I'll focus on the one that's Highway 212 to Flying Cloud Drive, because I think that's the one that's most visible and it's the larger project. But when we started that project, we talked about, should we do one lane in each direction and try to leave a flow of traffic in both directions? Or do we start to look at doing a partial closure where we directionally close traffic and not impact traffic flow in the other direction? And it really comes down to three things. It's a constructability issue. We sit down with our contractor. We know what the type of project that we were dealing with here. It's much larger equipment. We're doing a type of invasive reconstruction where it does take larger equipment. We've got a stabilizer out there. We've got multiple milling machines. We have large equipment that we don't traditionally see on a mill and overlay project. So we know there were constructability issues. It just takes more room for that equipment to safely maneuver within a limited work environment. So we knew that we were going to be challenged trying to keep one lane in each direction. The other thing is safety. We have a responsibility to provide a safe work environment for the employees of the construction firm, but also a safe environment for the motorists, the pedestrians that are walking, using the facilities. So we evaluate that as well as, can we provide that safe work environment, driving environment, walking environment? And we were a little bit concerned that maybe we couldn't provide that with the type of work that we were looking to do. And then the third thing is we look at, from a traffic efficiency standpoint, what would work better here? So we actually model the corridor. We run a traffic analysis, and we run the one lane in each direction. And what does that do for travel times up and down the corridor? What's the level of service at each of the intersection? And then you model that, well, what if you don't impact one direction of traffic, but you close the other direction of traffic? And this is Prairie Center Drive, it's our town center. There are multiple other arterial roadways that the driver has to choose from. There's Flying Cloud Drive, Prairie Center is a circular road, so there are other means for the motorists to get to their destination. So that worked in our advantage here. And after we modeled it, we actually found that there was a better level of service by leaving one lane or one direction of traffic unimpeded and the other being closed and they find alternate routes than if you were to limit both directions of traffic and give them only one lane. And so there was actually better efficiency in traffic by doing that. So in looking at all three of those factors, we decided that that was probably the best means for completing this project. And the other thing is we could actually finish this project probably a month quicker than if we were trying to do multiple stages under one lane in each direction. So at the end of the day, we'll get this done sooner, get out of there, open it up to traffic, business back to normal. So that's why that decision was made. And maybe just an update on that project. So we're about 50% done now. And we are expecting that completion of the project will be the end of September. I think it's September 30th is when that project will be completed. So a little over a month from now, it'll be completely finished. And that's pretty good. It's a $2.8 million project. So that is a large project. A lot of work was done. It's completely rebuilding all of that roadway with the exception of some curb and gutter, but it's all new ADA compliant at the intersections, and we're also doing some signal modifications there as well at Regional Center Drive. So it's a big project. Now, speaking of the second Prairie Center Drive, that's from Flying Cloud towards Preserve Boulevard, and the installation of the new traffic signal at Franlow. So that'll be much welcomed, I know, for residents that live in that the neighborhood there. So again, that project will be completed in early October. It started a little bit later than the first project I was talking about. Some of the work that remains, they poured the footings for the traffic signal. So as soon as those have cured, you'll start to see the iron go up on the signal poles and the mast arms and the signal heads. And they're also doing a rebuilding of that roadway. They're doing a full depth reclamation and possibly some stabilization of the asphalt surfacing, and then of course ADA compliance as well, because we were not compliant at that intersection. So that will make it a nice, easy, barrier-free access for people that live on the south side of Prairie Center, wanting to go to that high-traffic destination of our Eden Prairie Center Mall. So that'll be a nice amenity when it's completed at the end of, I guess, early October. And if you'd like, I could hit on a couple of our other projects, because this has really kind of been a landmark year for major infrastructure investment. Homeward Hills Road, if you live in that southern part of town, that's another road that has been closed for the past several weeks as we replaced a sewer line that's in the middle of Homeward Hills. That's down at Tanglewood to Horseshoe. They will actually repave that road on Monday, and by Monday evening, the roadway should be reopened to traffic. So for those that live in the southeast part of Eden Prairie, that road will be open next week. Also up in the Golden Triangle, 70th Street is being reconstructed. That's again a total closure. This is the third phase of the West 70th Street reconstruction. This is the road that will serve the Golden Triangle Station. The first phase was done a number of years ago, and then the middle phase was done with the light rail project, and this is the third and final phase that will be completed from Shady Oak to the station. And so that will be completed in October as well. And that's a total reconstruction with sidewalk and pedestrian facilities that will serve the Golden Triangle as well as new roadway. And then we also, just looking at our annual pavement management project that we do each year, usually those are a lot of residential roadways, but in and about the city center area, you notice Technology Drive was completely resurfaced. Also Wallace Road, Venture Lane, Fuller Drive, and Village Woods, some of our major collector roads, were also a part of that work this year. That finished up yesterday, so that project is now done and finished for the year. That was probably our largest project of the year, $3.6 million. That turned out very good. And then maybe I'll touch on a project, not necessarily a city project, but something that is happening citywide, and that's the fiber installation that's happening across the city. Again, it's not a city project. This is a privately led project, but it is permitted through the city. And we have a company called Intrepid who is working on behalf of T-Mobile that's installing fiber across the community, trying to get fiber in front of every residential home in Eden Prairie. And they've been working for about a year now, and they are actually providing service now on the eastern side of Eden Prairie. They've constructed much of the southern fiber across southern Eden Prairie, and they're working in the central and getting permitted for the northern part of Eden Prairie. So I suspect over the course of the next year, year and a half, they should be finished with that. And they've done a pretty good job with restoration. I mean, it's an impactful, it's an invasive process getting in front of every residential home. But they've done a pretty good job compared to some of our other service providers in Eden Prairie as far as restoration goes. So we've been pretty satisfied with the work that they've done. We do have a second fiber company that is working to get permitted now. They're providing security, so it's a matter of days, not necessarily weeks, before they start working in Eden Prairie, and they're Gigaspeed working on behalf of AT&T. And again, they're wanting to provide residential service across our community as well. And it looks like they are working to start in the southeast part of Eden Prairie as well. And so I just highlight that because this is something that the city of Eden Prairie permits, but we can't dictate where they go. We can't tell them, no, they can't come here. If they submit for a permit and they meet all of our security requirements, we have to let them provide that service.
So even if 6 companies came completely duplicatively laying fiber in the exact same areas across the city, digging it up 6 times, we don't have any control over that.
We can't deny them that permit to occupy the right of way. That is,
Mayor, 3 things I'll add. Some of the cities around us, I think they're on 3, if not 4 companies. We're on 1, maybe 2. I also think, though, in the marketplace, Robert and I have talked about this, they're trying to be the first to cover territory, so they'll probably hit those areas that aren't covered, but it's not to say they'll overlay into another area. And third, quite frankly, I'm not going to speak about the current service provider. I'm not going to make a comment on the current service provider other than to say I've been in many places where people are asking for competition to be able to choose
Yes.
another internet provider without, it's not making a statement to the current provider, but it's something that we saw coming, and it's happening throughout the entire metro area.
Councilmember Narayan.
Yeah, Robert, a question. If they want to put fiber, who had to give the right of way to dig it up? Is that our city giving?
yes, we would issue a right-of-way permit, much like we do for Xcel Energy, CenterPoint Energy, Comcast, Illumin, any of the other utility service providers.
So they will be putting a fiber in place, and the second vendor will be putting same on top of it?
They could. Now, they've told us that they would prefer not to install a utility where a fiber already exists, but they might try to leapfrog each other to get out in front of one another. So you will see duplicative services maybe along major collector roads as they're trying to get out in front to the next neighborhood, but we wouldn't expect to see every cul-de-sac is going to have 2 fiber optic providers. They've told us it just doesn't make financial sense to do that, but they do want to be the first into a neighborhood.
And the first company that gets there can lease that, because fiber is obviously incredibly larger than usually what one company's needs are, can lease that out to all their competitors then, correct?
Certainly could.
And are there, I mean, I know even as I say this, it sounds exorbitantly expensive, but is there no city out there that's laying in, I'm going to make this up now, but like a 10-inch pipe that goes in the ground one time and then all the other companies feed in it and we get lease payments off it or something? Is that just impossible now for us to do? But
I think where we've seen that is major urban areas where the battle for available space is incredibly difficult because you don't have a lot of right-of-way left there, and most of it's paved over, whereas Eden Prairie, we have large amounts of wide open right-of-way. It's easy to dig in. It's not covered in pavement or street, so probably wouldn't see that in a suburban environment, but you might in a downtown Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Councilmember Nelson.
Do we insist that they put it back like they found it, or do they put it back sort of? You know, because this goes in front of people's homes.
Yep. No, Intrepid has done a very good job. If you compare, I would say, the restoration work that Intrepid has done as to that of maybe Xcel or CenterPoint or people that we have been working with for years, I would say it's on a whole new plane. When Intrepid has come in, they've actually laid a tarp down, they've dug their hole, they've laid that dirt on the tarp so that it doesn't blend into the sod. They cut out the sod, they put the dirt back after they've installed their facility, and then they place that original sod right back into the hole. They actually put a little extra seed on top of it and some straw. And then we've never seen, 13 years, I've never seen anybody go to that level of restoration in Eden Prairie. So I think they've done actually a very good job. I wish all of the service providers, private utilities, do as good of a job as Intrepid has done. And I'm hoping Gigaspeed does as well as they have, but they seem to have the same model, but we will see when they get here.
All right. Mr. Getchell, any final thoughts on that? Otherwise, we are at the end of our agenda, I believe.
Mayor, no, there's no further business.
All right. Then if nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn the city council meeting
Is there a
tonight.
second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed. This meeting is adjourned.